Hello, and welcome to the Classical Guitar Heroines podcast.
Join us as we celebrate the remarkable contributions of women to this timeless art form, featuring insightful interviews, captivating stories, and performances that showcase their talent and dedication.
I'm your host, Bridget Gerard, classical guitarist and member of the Kitchener-Waterloo Guitar Orchestra.
And I am your host, Mariette Stevenson, founder, music director, and conductor of the Kitchener-Waterloo Guitar Orchestra, and professor of guitar at Wilfrid Laurier University and the University of Waterloo.
We are excited to bring you the lives and music of these classical guitar heroines, past and present, and to share with you their enduring impact on music and our world.
Welcome to the Classical Guitar Heroines podcast. Our guest today is the Brazilian guitarist Gabriele Leite. Gabriele Leite has an extraordinary story as the first classical guitarist listed in the magazine Forbes Under 30 in the 2021 edition, as well as being nominated for the Prêmio de Música Brasileira in 2024 in the New Artist category. Daughter of an industrial mechanic and seamstress, she began her guitar studies at the Guri Institute in Sao Paulo. At 18 years of age, Gabriele enrolled in the BA program in guitar at the Art Institute of Sao Paulo State University, and then moved to New York, earning her master's degree in music performance from the Manhattan School of Music. She is currently working on her Doctor of Music Arts at Stony Brook University under the supervision of João Luiz Regengi. Gabriele is the co-founder of the Brazilian Classical Guitar Community, a platform for publishing and broadcasting online recordings of Brazilian composers. Gabby has performed in various festivals and competitions, including the Koblenz International Guitar Festival, where she was a semifinalist and received honorable mention as the Best Brazilian Performer in 2019. She was elected Young Talent by the popular jury at the Concert Grand Prix in 2020 and the Lillian Fuchs Chamber Music Competition in 2021. Since April 2020, Gabriele has been sponsored by Augustine Strings. In November of 2023, Gabby released her first solo album, Territorios, and recently released her second solo guitar album, Gunûncho, featuring music by Lina Perez de Campos, Tanya Leon, Thea Musgrave, Chiquinho Gonzaga, and music composed by Gabriele herself. Here is Preludio No. 4 by Lina Perez de Campos, performed by our guest, Gabriele Leite, from her new recording, Gunûncho, courtesy of Roncinante.
That was our guest, Gabriele Leite, performing Preludio Number 4 by Lina Perez de Campos, courtesy of Roncinante. Welcome to the Classical Guitar Heroines podcast, Gabriele.
Yes, welcome, welcome. You super excited.
Awesome. You have accomplished so much in the past 10 years with 2 recordings and international recognition for your musical talent. How did you become interested in classical guitar?
That's such a good question. So, classical guitar was kind of a little bit random in my life because when I was about 6 years old, my dad he just gave me a CD recording with one of his best friends who also plays guitar and was like a classical guitar recording set. Bunch of like different pieces from Tárrega to Villa-Lobos, Gil Armando Reis, like bunch of like Brazilian classical music, but also some of European tradition. And then I was like a little bit addicted to that. I was listening to that every single day. My
Oh,
old sister,
wow.
she was like, come on, you're going to keep doing that forever. You even don't play the guitar. Why are you doing that? And I was like, no, look the sound. The sound is so good. So I was fascinated with the sound of the guitar and how compared to the music that I was used to listen through the radio stations and even the TV, I was thinking about like, whoa, this is so different. Like the sound of the guitar, how the guitar can sound different from loving songs and popular music,
Yeah, yep.
all the way back like in the TV shows, these kind of things. And then with that in mind, my mom's just start to see that I was like very interesting into listen that CD for that Christmas time. I think it was like 2004 or something like this. I got like a guitar, like a 3/4 size guitar, like nylon guitar.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's super nice. But how can I do start to learning that? And then my parents was like trying to look for some instructor. At that time, they don't have like the money to afford lessons. And then my mom did her research and he found the conservatory, like the music conservatory, but was kind of like a little bit far from my hometown. And then she was trying again to get like free lessons. And then randomly, she just like meet with some friends of her at that time. And then they talk about like, oh, the Goody Institute, they gave like free lessons for kids. And then I think you can sign up for that. And then that was the way that I start to learning guitar because again, my parents was very worried about like me learning an instrument, but with someone that is professional on that
Yeah,
that
Right.
field. So they avoid the magazines.
Yeah.
Like so they'll go through the institution and then start to do the guitar. And then another thing that was kind of like weird for that time at the Goody, the institute, when we have like the guitar lessons was like set for a group lesson. So I always like from since the beginning I was like learning music with other people. So that's kind of like a nice experience. But then the random thing was classical guitar position. So since the beginning, I use the footstool. I work on those exercise. I read music. So yeah, that's the kind of like background like about classical guitar and the way that I fell in love with this. Like from recording to the first steps on the guitar.
That's
oh,
wonderful.
that's beautiful. Now, your new recording, Gunûncho, features the music of women composers. We started this episode with music by Lina Perez de Campos. Can you talk a bit about her career and her music on this recording?
Yeah, so Lina Pires de Campos, she was a pianist in São Paulo. Nice thing about Lina Pires de Campos' career is her father was one of the biggest like luthiers, guitar makers in Brazil, and his name is Del Vecchio, like a very Italian name because he was Italian. And he was like doing all this kind of like factory with like the guitar and cavaquinho. A lot of like guitarists was used to go to his factory, and then because of that Lina was a little bit also interested in learn to how to play the guitar. And I just received like a message from Instagram from a random guy say to me, "Oh, you know that Lina used to take lessons, guitar lessons with Isaías Sábio, which is
Really?
another, yeah, like Brazilian guitar teacher all the way back in the 70s." And I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, I don't know that. That's good." And then she was a little bit interested in to learn the instrument. And then he just wrote those like preludes and then Ponteio Toccatina. She was trying to get like her influential compositions and she was trying to put that on paper. It's interesting, every prelude has like one name before the prelude, so for the people that she was trying to do that music.
Hmm.
And yeah, she was like very active in this way, like to play piano but also be trying to collaborate with other instruments, and guitar was one of the favorite ones because of like the connection with family and friends.
Nice.
And that makes a difference too, because she had that background in guitar that she knew then how to write for it. Like it wasn't like totally foreign for her.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, if you listen to her music, it's very pianistic in the way that she wrote the phrases and everything. I remember the name of the composer now, Camargo Guarnieri. So that's a very like classical composer from Brazil. She was learning from here how to like she did like compositions lessons, but it's very interesting the way that she put everything together and very compacted on the guitar. But at the same time, she was trying to do a little bit what the piano does in the way that to do the phrases and also the keys of the prelude. So that was like a little bit hard to get what she was trying to do with the melodies, because if you play that same recording, same piece on piano, would sound like very different from the guitar. So it's kind of like difficult to hold all the phrases, the melodies, and like everything should be like she not use like so many open strings on her music. That's what I'm gonna say. My complaints about
Too many
her
sharps and
compositions.
flats in the key
Too
signature, right?
many sharps. The first one is like E flat minor. I was like,
Oh, jeez.
what are you doing this? So this is the pianist side.
Wow. Not for the faint of heart, but it still sounds gorgeous.
Yeah.
Oh, but the next track that we're going to play is by the Cuban composer Tania Leon. And now, what drew you to her piece, Pesamos Semos?
That was very interesting because I remember first time that I met João Luiz, who is my teacher from Stony Brook University. He talks a lot about like the Tanya Leon's works and how she was very active in this way to make music, but not only for the instruments, not only for the musicians, but for the like a general public in the way that she was like working with dance. So at that time it was kind of like funny to listen to her like works for orchestra and different instruments. I think I like the way that she sounds, the way that she tries to deliver the music. Of course, we use the word contemporary, but it's very in a different set. I think that was the first impression that I have from her works, but for sure, João Luiz was the guy who introduced me to her works.
Very cool.
That is awesome. Well, here we're going to listen to Gabrielle performing Paisanos Semos by Tanya Leon from her new release Gunûncho, courtesy of Roncinante. That was Gabriele Leite performing Paisanos Semos by Tanya Leon from her new release Gunûncho, courtesy of Roncinante. You are listening to the Classical Guitar Heroines podcast. You received your undergraduate degree from the Art Institute of Sao Paulo State University, but then you moved to the United States to do your master's at the Manhattan School of Music and now your DMA at Stony Brook University. Why did you decide to pursue your advanced degrees in the United States?
Wow, that's the 1 million question. But the good thing about that was I was very influenced by my teachers at that time when I was doing my high school in Brazil. And then I was doing like some competitions, like guitar competitions in São Paulo. And I was like won a lot of prizes, was super great. But the thing was, everyone say, "Oh, Gabi, you play super well, but I think your next step is to go abroad, to try to expand a little bit more the way that we think about the instrument." And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna try." And it was fun because at that time I was like 18 years old and I was not speaking any English.
Wow.
But then I went to Koblenz Festival in Germany and was like a whole experience. And I was like, wow, that's good. Brazil is such a big country, but we still don't have many access to good guitars. Let me say, the high level of the materials, because everything that we kind of like import is super expensive. So it's kind of like difficult to be a musician, like playing in such good instruments as you can do if you are in Europe and then people. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that step to Europe to see how it is. And then I had this very great experience. Then I come back to Brazil and then I was thinking, I don't know if I can handle how to learn German, but maybe I can try English. So then my teacher at that time at the Cultura Artística, that was like another very important step in my life. Paulo Martelli, he was talking about, oh, I did Juilliard, I did Manhattan School of Music, and I think you fit well the way that I think about the guitar and then the way that I can see your career in the future. And I was like, okay, Juilliard, okay, that's a very fancy school, but let's try the best. And then I remember like 2018, Cultura Artística just brought Sharon Isbin to Brazil. And then I did a masterclass with her. And then she was like, you're going to get to do the master with me. And I was like,
Wow.
yes, I will try my best to get over there. I just finished the BA at the São Paulo University. And then I was like thinking about like, okay, I'm going to put all my energy to learn how to speak English and I'm going to try to do that master's. And then I just applied for a few conservatories and universities for the master application. And then I got Juilliard, Manhattan. And then the next step was to doing the English test. I failed
Oh, no.
with like a very low grade. And I was like, okay, that's fine. I think I have like the guitar side, the music side for the master, but I don't have still the language. So let's work on that. And then I was like seeing a bunch of emails saying about, oh, I'm going to drop my application because I didn't go well. And then I just got one email back from Manhattan School of Music saying, oh, we have an English course. I think you can do that course, but keep doing your application. It was like, oh yeah, but I cannot afford to go to New York to do the auditions and everything. And they were like, you can send us videos. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try. And that was the first week of the pandemic.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
I remember that I was living in São Paulo, but then I just went to my parents' house and then I stuck there for forever. I didn't have like the computer and it was crazy. But then I tried and then I just recorded videos and then I sent everything. And then I didn't tell my teachers, my family, just Cultura Artística. I told them, I'm gonna go Manhattan School of Music, but I don't know if this is gonna work. And then I remember it was April 1st. And then I got the admission letter saying, oh, you are very welcome to start your master's at Manhattan School of Music, all the full scholarship. And I was like, Wow, I didn't go
Wow.
there and then
Yeah.
I got like the full scholarship. So I was like very happy. And then I said to my family, I'm gonna move to New York. And they were like, what? But you just started English like 2 years ago. And I was like, yeah, you see that? So I'm going. And then we have like the pandemic and it was a little bit more difficult to come here because of the visas and everything. And then 2021, I went here for my second year at Manhattan School of Music. I studied with Mark Del Priora
Mm,
and was such a great time at the school. I think the reason that I make that happen was to grow a little bit more in a personal way, but also in a professional way, because I think it's so important today if you are a young student and English is not your first language. It's such important to learn that for you be able to communicate it if you're going to do like a international tour. You
Yeah.
can talk with people, you can learn new stories and everything. So yeah, that was like a change in my life. And I think that the future that I was seeing in New York was kind of like, I think I can handle that. I think will be fun experience. I think will be super challenge, but I think it's now is the time to make that big step. And then I just jump in. So
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
with no family, no friends, and but yeah, that's it.
Wow. Wow. So impressive.
completely agree. And you currently study with Jean-Louis Hazenge. And I was wondering, how influential has he been to your development as a musician?
So João was a very important person in my life. I remember when I was like 12 years old, I was starting my first classical guitar in the music conservatory all the way back in Brazil. And I remember that like first semester I was like scared about like theory lessons and the core and everything. My mom was not with me with the lessons and I was like trying to do my best. I remember like I think it was the second week of the conservatory. I just was trying to make new friends. And then one friend of mine who plays guitar super well, he said, now that you pass on that conservatory, you're here learning classical guitar, I think now is the time for you start to kind of like know a little bit more about the classical guitar world. And then I I just got like a bunch of like wave
Mm-hmm.
files from Segovia, Julian Breen, Cheryl Wisbin, I mean, kind of like figures on the classical guitar. And then I received one recording from João Luiz duo, the Brazilian guitar duo. And then I was like, wow, those guys sounds amazing. Oh my God. I dream about like to be able to play half of what they are doing. And
Oh.
then I just, in 2015, I went to Assad's festival. So
Mm-hmm.
Sergio and Odair, they were there. And it was like such a nice time there. And then João was also there. João and Douglas Lora. And then I did a masterclass with Douglas. And Douglas was like, wow, you play super well. And he was like saying that to João. And I remember that I took a picture with João and I was like,
Oh.
wow, so nice to meet another black person who plays the classical guitar. That was our interaction. And then after like 5 or 6 years, I was start to think about like moving to the US and people will say, oh, you need to meet João because he was like a teacher at Hunter College and also Stony Brook University. But I didn't apply at that time. I don't know why. When I was like the second year of my master was my first year here in the New York. And then I was like, what I'm gonna do? I cannot live. Just 1 year? No, that's not enough. I need to stay more. And then I was crazy about like send a bunch of emails, try to get like any doctoral
Mm-hmm.
in music program. And then João say, no, I teach at Stony Brook University. It will be a pleasure if I can have you. And then I'm going to fight for you to get a TA, like a teaching
Mm-hmm.
assistantship.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, let's do that. Of course, I did all the auditions for the DMA program, and then I got two exceptions, one from the Peabody and then the other one from Stony Brook University. And then I was like, okay, I think I'm not moving down to Baltimore. I think I'm gonna stay here close. And then I moved to Long Island, and then I did Stony Brook University. Then we started like to work more together, and he was like very important for at least the first recording that I released, which is Territórios. He's very great person to talk about life and also how you put things together, especially in the music industry. So he was like very, very helpful in that way.
Oh, that's amazing. And I'm curious, the next track that we're going to listen to, Lua Branca, is by the Brazilian composer Chiquinha Gonzaga. And she's famous for her development of Brazilian styles like the choro and the machixe. And Lua Branca is certainly one of her most best known songs. Can you chat about how important Lua Branca is to you and why you wanted to include it on this recording?
Yeah, so Lua Branca is a such nice song. And I remember the first time that I like listened to that all the way back in Brazil, I was like very emotional about like the lyrics, because I mean people like put some lyrics on that, and also we have a lot of like people sing the song, and then I was very touched by the melody. And fun fact, one of friends mine from the Stony Brook University, Otávio Delucchi, he just released a Chiquinha Gonzaga book about arrangements. So a guitar arrangement
Wow.
book. Wow, Otávio, that's so good. This is one of his research on the DMA program. And then was fun because he was like, Gabi, I think you should play that song. Because on the first released on Territórios, I recording Melodia Sentimental, who is like a Villa Lobos piece, and was very sentimental, and like a lot of heart I put on that. But then Lua Branca is kind of like in the same mood of this one, and then I was like, yes, I think we need another one for this album.
Wonderful.
That was the idea, and then I got like the arrangement. I changed a little bit here and there, and then the recording happened. That's a very great works from Chiquinha, and Otávio Deluxe book is available for you purchase. I think it's important also to have also Chiquinha Gonzaga as, how can I say, uh, the old lady who like give us all the
Yeah.
space that we can like occupy right now. So that was the kind of like sentimental that I feelings that I try to put on this album.
Wonderful.
Fantastic. Well, here is Gabby performing Lua Branca by Chiquinha Gonzaga from her new recording, Gunûncho, courtesy of Roncinante.
That was our guest, Gabriele Leite, with the lovely Lua Branca by Chiquinha Gonzaga from her new recording Gunûncho, courtesy of Roncinante. You are listening to Classical Guitar Heroines podcast. As we mentioned earlier, you have two recordings, Territorius and Gunûncho, and with Gunûncho you focus on women composers. Why did you want to make a recording that featured women composers?
I don't know how to explain that super well, but when I launched the first album, Territórios, I was very happy with how that released spread out. Like people like from different parts of the world, they were like, wow, we're very glad that you finally put something on the air. And I was like, yeah, I'm happy to. And then with that, I think I kind of like grow up. I have like 2 year gap between the releases, and I was like, oh, what I'm gonna do next? The first one was so good. What I'm gonna do next? And then I was like thinking, and then I just have this boom. When you stop everything and say, okay, we'll beat that the thing. Females composers, I was thinking about that because again, I think the way that people see me playing the guitar is so very specific. People say, "Oh, Gabi, you are so like intense, and then you're very playful when you play guitar." And then with that in mind, I was thinking about which kind of repertoire can I fit the same kind of energy that people see on me. What kind of repertoire I can try to put a little bit of that. And then I just realized that, oh, I have like different composers, like women composers. So Tânia León, Cuban music, Chiquinha Gonzaga, Brazilian music, Lina Pires de Campos, Brazilian music, but different. More like, kind of like, how can I say? A little bit more in the concept of like classical Brazilian music. And then I was like, Thea Musgrave, very different from everything, but is still a reminiscence from the Spanish traditions that we have for guitar. And then I was like, okay, I like the Spanish music. I like the Cuban music. I like the Brazilian music. Why I don't put that composers together? So was a little bit like this. I was trying to this kind of like memories from different nationalities, but also like presents a little bit about Brazilian music, but in two different aspects. So we have like more popular music like Chiquinha Gonzaga, machixe, choro, like people still playing that on the streets. Also bring a little bit of Lina Pires de Campos concept, the thing that she was trying to compose to the guitar. Those women composers appear like that. But the most important thing I was thinking about with the way that I'm doing music on the guitar, I think I can try to put this question mark on listener that are going to check it out Gunûncho album to see, oh, I don't know none of those music. I don't know, maybe people know one of those, which is Chiquinha Gonzaga Corta Jaca, which is a little bit more famous, but the other they don't know. I was trying to also expand a little bit more the people's repertoire in the way that, okay, we have the guitar, we know Asturias, we know the Bach, all this suites and blah, blah, blah. We know the Tárrega, we know Villa Lobos super well, but we don't know that much Chiquinha Gonzaga. We don't know that much Lina Pires de Campos. We don't know Tânia León. Oh, she's still alive. Oh my God, who is that person? So I was trying to put those question marks on the people, the way that they listen to music.
That's incredible because, we don't know about any of these ladies. And both of these CDs that you've created focus on music from the 20th and the 21st centuries. So what draws you to those eras of music rather than all of the rest?
I think since I was like starting to play the guitar, the repertoire, I was fell in love about like Bach's music. I was like, oh, this guy's so good. And I was not that much interested in Carcassi music. I was like, okay, it's technical. We need to pass through that. But it was not interesting. I was more trying to figure out like different harmonies and different ways to think about guitar. For me, most of the 20th century and 21st century, the music is much more about the rhythm, especially for the guitar. We have so many emiolas, like crazy things going on. And I love that. I just like, oh, because I love like musicianship. I like the rhythm skip part of that. Every time that I listen to some repertoire from that era was very interesting in the way that we can deliver the music. Sometimes it's just a melody, but sometimes we have so many
Yeah.
noises happen at the same time. And maybe it's because a little bit more close to what we are living now, what we are feeling about the world.
Wow. And you are a composer yourself and have included your delightful 3 nano etudes on your new recording. So I'm curious, what is the inspiration behind them? Because I believe it starts with the name of your baby blanket.
Yeah, that's it. So Gunûncho is the name of my baby blanket.
Oh.
My mom, she was the person who gave the name. It was fun because I was trying to create some memory from my young years, let me say like this. And then I remember like this word Gunûncho, which is very nice to say because it's, I don't know, it's very like musical, like we have like Gunûncho, and it's difficult because it's everything like kind of like a little bit like closed
Yeah.
in the way that you pronounce that. And then I remember that my mom was the first person who gave me this kind of like gift to learn music. She was the one who were trying to figure out like to put things together for me,
Yeah.
start to learn music. And I was like, oh, so many years that I have been playing the guitar. I mean, almost 20. And I think I can do something from my family. I was thinking about that because since I was a kid, I was playing the guitar, but I was not singing and I was not composing anything.
Hmm.
And then I was like, I think now it's time. Come on, almost 20 years and I'm not doing like any of those first things that people do on the guitar. And then I remember one of the winters here, which is very cold for a Brazilian person.
Yeah. I hear you.
I know it's Canada is much more, but I mean,
It's cold.
it's
Yeah.
cold.
Yeah.
And then I was in a friend's house and I was like, I'm gonna write down something. So I just sat in the front of the computer and then I just start to search for like Brazilian
Mm.
rhythms. And then I got like maracatu, which is the nano etude number 2. And then I was like, try to figure out the way that the rhythm patterns like happen. I think I can do like some practical skills for the guitar
Mm.
using techniques that we generally just do once and then that's it. So
Mm.
harmonics. We
Yeah.
don't have any music
Yeah.
with so many harmonics, like especially the naturals ones. Okay, I think I'm gonna put on that written pattern and then let's see how that work. And then I did, and I was like, okay, now I need to write down because this is my lace thing. I'm very good like composing, but I forgot. 10 seconds after I just forgot. And then I was like, no, I'm gonna write down that. Then I was like trying to record the audio and
Yeah.
also writing down. I use Music Score. That's the
Yeah. New score.
app.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was putting all those harmonics. I was like, okay, I'm gonna do 2 more. The most important impact about that, about be like a composer, I was thinking about I'm not a composer because I didn't study for that. I studied to be like a good performer.
Mm.
I'm very respectful with that way that we see the composition in music. I believe that it's important for you also like compose music, but because I have a bunch of friends, they are only composers. They are not
Right. Right.
performance. Kind of like difficult to get like the money, the work and everything. So I was very respectful in that way. I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna write down something, but should be short and not that deep in the way of like development. This is something that I would like to do, but I need to really like get more on that studies first to do that. Of course, I do have like the background, but I really like to do that with more, how can I say, like kind of like era. I'm not Beethoven, but we need to have like different eras. Now I am on my era to play to performer. So maybe, I don't know, in 10 years, 15 years, I tend to be more focused on compositions. I am like a composer, but very respectful.
Well, and it makes sense too, like, to have like short etudes so that you don't have to be making something that's super long, that's manageable for you, but it's also something that's technical so that people, can hopefully purchase your etudes, but able to develop their technique with,
Yes.
what the etudes are addressing. So yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
why not?
Yeah.
And I think they're great. I think they're beautiful and lots of fun to listen to.
Oh, that's good.
So here you are, Gabi Leite, and you're performing your three nano etudes, Gunûncho, Maracatu, and Jongo from your new recording, Gunûncho, courtesy of Roncinante.
That was our wonderful guest, Gabriele Leite, with her compositions, three nano etudes from her recording Gunûncho, courtesy of Roncinante. You are listening to Classical Guitar Heroines podcast.
So, Gabby, I've noticed in your videos, especially on social media, you play with so much joy, which is incredibly uplifting to watch. I was wondering, can you describe the delight and the happiness that music and guitar bring you?
Since I was kid, then I was starting the guitar. I remember how I was happy when I just put like my fingers down and then I make one note. I was like, wow, that's good. I can do that. And then I was just like kind of like learning so many music, so many like different ways to drum in the guitar, but also to see how we coordinate the fingers and everything. And then that was the beginning. But with that in mind, my family, my dad, my mom, my sister, they are super kind of like extroverted person. They are very like they talk with everyone. I mean, not that much my sister, but my dad and my mom, they are super kind of like, that person that you go to the supermarket and then
Mm-hmm.
just start to talk with everyone.
Yeah.
Those are my parents. And with that in mind, my dad, he was super proud when I was like learning the guitar and I was kid.
Mm.
And he was like every moment that he like can have like with his friends, he was trying to put me to play the guitar in front of people. And I was like, okay, I get the guitar and I sit there and I talk to people like this. I'm not going to sing. Don't force me to do that, but I'm gonna play some nice classical music. Please shut up and listen to the guitar. And then I was playing. But then I realized sometimes it's boring to see people playing the guitar because, okay, of course, we need to be focused on try to put the chords and everything like on the right spot. But I was like, how about if I move a little bit? And then I was trying to incorporate these kind of things, like little by little, just observation about like that word. I was doing that and people was wow. Every time that I play, I got like this, wow, you play so well. You play with so confidence. We play with so many joy. And I was like, oh yeah, yeah, no, yeah, that's true. But then I just start to realize that I can communicate with the guitar besides the sound and everything using my body. I just realized that when I was like, I don't know, 10 years old. And then I just like kept going doing this. So was kind of like fun. And then when of course the repertoire started to be a little bit more hard,
Yeah.
and then I was like, okay, now I need to really study that super well. Then I can move my body and then play the difficult things. So everything since the beginning was kind of like set up in my mind. So I was like, okay, this is hard, but I cannot demonstrate that to people who are listening to me. I need to show them that it's easy. It's not easy for me, but it's easy what they are looking. Yeah, I think that joy comes a little bit from that, like my own observations, my own thoughts about like how to make the guitar more interesting. That was the kind of like big question mark that I had in my head. But then, of course, because of my family, like they were super, oh, this is my daughter. She plays the guitar. And I was like in different kind of locals. I was playing with, I don't know, in the church, but also on the barbecue, but also in front of my house.
Oh,
And then I was like, okay, I need to make guitar interesting for people who are watch me.
yeah.
That was one of the thoughts that I have. But also I think I just feel great playing the guitar. And I think this is something about my personality. I'm super kind of like this. All the way. I smile at it every time. I make jokes, like good jokes, because I don't like bad jokes. Yeah. And then I think that is something that I try to put on the way that I play the guitars. And then this is the happiness. Of course, my family
Yeah.
influence, like my dad, my mom, they were very important to the way that I am now. So yeah, that's it.
That's so beautiful. That is absolutely wonderful. And I'm wondering too, because you kind of touched on this. Do you plan to do more composing?
I think so. Yes, yes, yes. It will be the next step. I'm just trying now. I need to confess that. My next goal is be a good arrangement
Hmm.
to really understand harmony and counterpoint and then everything that you need to put together to make like music happen. One of my projects 2026 is play more shoto music because
Nice.
kind of like step a little bit out from the classical guitar repertoire just to learn how to improvise, how to play in a setup of people like playing melody and then you need to accompany that both like join this kind of setup. So this is one of my projects for this year, but also the next one is trying to get like some of those shotos tunes, which are a bunch.
Yeah.
We have like a lot, and try to put on the guitar. So of course we have a lot of compositions, but the goal is try to get like a flute melody with a 7 string guitar, and they try to make that happen together. So this is one of the goal, and I think will be very useful for
Yeah.
future.
And
Yeah,
maybe you can
absolutely.
compose some of your own chorus and record them. That would be a
Yeah,
lot of fun too.
that's true.
Oh, that's awesome. So, as we're coming to the end of our podcast, do you have any final thoughts on women and guitar?
I think I have a lot, but let me. I don't know the words, but let me try to be more like direct. Yes, I think it's one of our missions here to keeping going on like sharing the human composers, but also human instrumentalists. Doesn't need to be only, of course, this is a guitar podcast, but we talk more about human in all those different aspects. I think we should to listen more, we should to support more young girls that are just trying to learn the guitar. It's so nice when we have someone to look at and say, "Oh, I would like to be like that person." And then I think, especially for me was kind of a little bit difficult when I was like kid to have those references because most of them was like man, and I was like, ah, come on.
Yeah.
I know Segovia, yeah, but
Exactly.
where are the other ones? Where are the humans on that aspect? I think this is our mission, you know. We need to be together. We need to be connect in different ways. Doesn't need to be only from, oh, I'm gonna support the, I'm gonna went to the concert to see some like young artists. But I think it's much more about we be together in the way that I can go to my phone, I can listen to the podcast, and I can support you guys, or even I can go to a website that have a lot of like a list of a lot of human composers. Then I can check it out, and then I'm gonna learn a new music, but that time will be a women one. So I think this is kind of like the few steps that we can do to contribute to our community. And this is, of course, this is not just for we as women, but also for everyone, you know, because I think we need to be together at the way that we think about music, because now we have this technology we can access, we can see, we can, oh, this is my reference. We can go to TikTok, Instagram, like Facebook, whatever, YouTube. You can see people like playing. But I think is the most important thing is trying to play more a human composer, to understand why they are not at the same spotlighting
Yeah.
as the man has. I think this kind of like thoughts is very important. And the most important thing is we need to stop doing the same thing that the man says about, oh, if you'd like to have an international career, we need to do that repertoire, you need to do
Yeah.
this. I think we need to be more like authentic about, no, I believe in this, I'm gonna do that. And
Yeah.
it's the same. I don't know. For me, it's kind of like to put at the same weight as I was in Brazil. I was not speaking English, and I was trying. I was like, yes, I'm gonna do my master's there. I don't know any word, but I'm gonna do. Of course, it's a difficult path, but I think it's the way that we find ourselves, like doing the things. You know,
Yeah.
Finding our voice.
that's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, where can our listeners find more of your music and your recordings?
You can find everything online. So you can find my music on YouTube. So if you type like the territorials, if you type Gunûncho, you are also going to find on YouTube, but also in Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, all those streamings. And then if you are going to Brazil,
Oh,
which is random because it's far, right?
sounds awesome.
But if you're going to Brazil, you can have the physical copy, which is vinyl.
Wow, that's so
So
cool.
Wow.
we don't have CDs for Roncinante. This is something about like the recording label. They are not doing CDs. They are doing only vinyls. Just to have this experience, you know, kind of like back away in the 70s, 60s. And then also, of course, I hope soon I'm gonna start like to do some of the tours about like that second release.
Yeah.
I hope I can have like some copies to go with me.
Oh, nice.
So when I will be like doing those tours, you can purchase one.
For sure.
Awesome. Here is our wonderful guest, Gabriele Leite, with Trovador from Postcards from Spain by Thea Musgrove, courtesy of Roncinante.
That was today's guest, Gabriele Leite, with Troubadour from Postcards from Spain by Thea Musgrave, from her new recording Gunûncho, courtesy of Roncinante.
We would like to thank the wonderful Gabriele Leite for speaking with us today, and a special thank you to Roncinante for allowing us to use the audio that you heard in today's episode. Follow the Classical Guitar Heroines podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. If you enjoyed what you heard, please click the like button and don't forget to subscribe to our Substack newsletter for updates. If you love our podcast and want to support us, consider visiting our Ko-fi account or by visiting our online store at Redbubble. Every contribution, no matter the amount, helps us stay independent and keep the podcast accessible to everyone. You can find the link on our Facebook and Instagram pages. And remember, if you are a woman that plays classical guitar, you too are a classical guitar heroine. Thank you for joining us on the Classical Guitar Heroines podcast.